Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, meathead. But he took it like a man. Didn't complain. Gerard never complained. I wanted to jump in the ring and just hit that little kid, fucking break his fucking head. We had a little, a woman and a little Vietnamese guy. It just made me think of it when I saw you. And nobody was small enough to box the woman, except this little skinny Vietnamese guy weighed about 100 pounds. And I told the guy, he was, not that it means anything, Taiwan, fuck, and all this bullshit. And I says, take it easy on her. I didn't even think about tell her, take it easy on him. Never even dawned on me. She hit him with a left hook. Boom! He goes down like a ton of shit. Now the guy gets up, is pissed off. So now he works her over pretty good. He works over. But it never even dawned on me to say, that's all right, sweetheart, just take it easy on her. Boom! Boom! He went down. But Margot can really fight. And we happen to have two women and they can really mix it up. But they both box. I asked her, one of the things in the forums is, we didn't ask if you had any boxing experience because it didn't dawn, But some of the kids can fight. Most of them can't. Now, they're not exactly like this, like in a schoolyard, but they can't fight. But, that little Vietnamese guy, he looked up at me when he was pulling himself off the fucking ground. And he says, okay. So then he was beating her. In fact, we rang the bell early. Boo! Okay. What about Gerard? Yes, sir.
This is more specific to something you just...
Oh, specifics.
When you say you look out here and you see no competition for the guys who are the heavy competitors, what is it exactly that you would see that you would qualify someone to be a competitor? Like, what is...
Well, because to compete with these guys, even my own guys that are out there, they're not worried about the 3, 5, 7, 800, a million, 3 deals. That's not competition. What they're concerned about is when you start doing the $25 and $50 million deals, which we have guys doing. There's an endless amount of $50 million deals in America, but that's not that endless. And if you're in healthcare, you're going to butt heads. In the last 3 years, I can tell you with my hand on my heart, not one of you that I've trained in the last 3 years have crossed paths with any of you on a deal. What you did cross paths on are building your boards. Building your boards. We've had a couple guys, and you heard that accounting firm who I never step in unless you're tarnishing my brand. I don't bother with you once you leave here. But we've had a couple of idiots that have, inadvertently, because they're crooks anyway. The guy's 7-time fraud, and he's asking questions like he's a bank analyst, He's going to run to fucking Belarus with the money. I know he is. And he's going to say, Dan Peña taught me, the Castle man. I can't stop that, The double murder that we had here has turned out to be a righteous guy, honest. And he says, Dan, being honest and being a murderer are 2 different things. Okay, fair enough. But you won't, there's no competition. But the big guys, why would I help this guy? If I thought he was going to run out of steam at 5 million or 10 million, fine, I'll help him. But this fucker might be like one of these other guys that, now I'm butting heads with him for a $200 million deal. And so a lot of people won't talk. We've only had one billionaire that came out of the closet. He's on my site. I hadn't heard of him in 26 years. And all of a sudden, but there's a lot of those guys. I'm told by Bruce the Whipple, Mayor Brian QLA Rose, and Dan Locke, who are in touch with a lot more people than I am. Dan, you've got tens of thousands. Now, I happen to know of the Eastern Bloc countries, after the wall came down, I helped several of those guys. They're the 3 of the top 5 richest in 4 or 5 of the Eastern Bloc countries. QLA, that's the model they use. I know that. So, but at doing these deals, but they don't want to take the time, And the longer they are from the seminar, the less they're inclined to come and talk to you. Because, the gratitude wears off, or their gratitude, wanting to help me. But because I've got a never-ending potpourri of you, by the time Christmas comes, I will have replaced these guys that are 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks old with another group. Because the model does work. The irony of all this is the fucking thing works. And it can work so much more effectively. If we had a guy that was smooth as, had tremendous presentation skills, it was, articulate, could sell, had a pair of balls, and, good looking. Good looking guys make more money than ugly guys. Not little midget dwarfs like, most of you guys in this room, a stiff wind and a good fuck could kill you. You can still get rich. But one of my stars is 7'1". He won't even talk to you. He walks in the room, he looks like a fucking Adonis. He looks like a Greek fucking god. None of you fall into that category, unless you're a used up old fat former Greek god. And good look, women have it easier. The trouble with the gals is they, not because they can't do it, it's because they fall in love or some shit like that. Or they want to have a kid. Love and kids bring the gals down. That's why we don't have more on the Hall of Fame. So I tell all the girls, keep your fucking legs, and you can't talk to women like that. Keep your fucking legs together, sweeties. Get a fucking vibrator. You can't talk to people like that anymore. I do. I don't give a fuck. What are you going to do to me? Sue me. Sluts. I had a girl at the seminar 3 or 4 years ago, showed me an app, showed everybody, back before Corona when we drink and, and graduation night. There's an app, a masturbation app for women. And they're all standing by the fireplace over here. What's everybody looking at? And then when I kind of looked at it out of the corner of my eye, I said, well, fuck, that looks like a penis in an app. And it was. It vibrated. I go, fuck, I don't need that. And I go, well, I better go talk to my wife over here. Sally! The shit that's out is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. What about Gerard? He quit. He's not the only guy that quit that came back. He likes to think he's the only one, but he's not the only one. Yes, sir.
Don't pick the industry because...
Could you pull the mic a little closer to you?
Don't pick the industry because somebody you know...
Of course not. I tell you that, but you're gonna.
And pick the industry which is very essential.
Yeah. Well, that's only since Corona. We didn't specify the essential industries before Corona. And don't pick any relatives. And we got a guy rolling up dental practices here in the UK. His father is one of the preeminent head of dentistry at Oxford or some bullshit like that. And when he didn't pick his father as chairman, that caused a riff in the family. Big time riff. And who gets blamed? The Castle man. If you pick anybody that's got the same blood running through their veins as you, it's a recipe for disaster. Sons, daughters, forget about it. It's a recipe for disaster. Yes, ma'am.
What do you think about Gerard saying that he has a good reputation because he pays his debts during the Corona time?
It means nothing. It means nothing.
Nothing for the banks?
No. He's only paid 3-5 weeks. Who gives a shit? So you paid bills 5 weeks. Who gives a shit? He made it sound. He hasn't been paying 9 years. My Corona cough. 9 years of debts, as they say. That's, he just, and he doesn't drink and he doesn't, smoke weed. I don't think he does. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know, for the pain. Gerard, I can see why you got fucking shot, though. I mean, a real live gangster lawyer, gunned down in the street. Just like in the fucking movies, except it's real. And even he can do it, a dipshit lawyer. I got another lawyer that stopped practicing law who's rolling up mobile home parks. I got another lawyer who stopped practicing law who's rolling up crematoriums and cemeteries. Now you all think everybody loves practicing law? Well, that ain't true. That ain't true, Joe. You think that all doctors like practicing medicine? That ain't true either. We won't take the words out of the two doctors that are in the room, but they can speak for themselves. Okay, what else about Gerard? Yes, sir.
I think he was lucky he came back after quitting.
Well, he was embarrassed. It had nothing to do with luck. He was shamed. Shamed. Because a little insipid weasel did deals. It's like in high school, I wasn't voted most likely to not succeed, but I was certainly at that end of the continuum. And then when I came back from my 20-year high school reunion, our reunion was on the Queen Mary in Long Beach, the boat. And I was the master of ceremony. And I'm dressed in a three-piece white linen suit like Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind. Shaking hands, and it's got my name and my picture. And people are looking at the picture because they didn't relate. And 2 days before, I had just been on the front page of the Los Angeles Times, cover, big picture that ultimately won a Pulitzer Prize, and it said, "The New Breed Latino Wealthy." And I was written that I was supposedly the richest Mexican in the United States. And I said, if I'm the best we got, we're fucked. That's what I said. I still say it today. But I'm not the richest. One, I don't live in the United States. And two, there's other guys that have made more money than I am. Not many, but a few. And they couldn't relate. Because I was a classic fuck-up in high school. 3 weeks before we graduated, my kids hate this story, we were sitting on the lawn. There used to be a senior area, only seniors could sit to have their lunch, and everybody else ate someplace else. And so Ruben Munoz, Walt Wojak, and myself, both of which are gone now, were sitting there and we're eating big boy hamburgers. And we were in a lockdown prison. I mean, and there was no delivery. There was no Uber fuck in those days. 1963. And the boys' vice principal, which was the enforcer, Hank Leeds, he's the guy that beat you, said, "Where'd you get those fucking hamburgers?" I said, "We had them delivered." He says, "Get in my fucking office after lunch." So we went to his office, and he gave us our diplomas. "Get the fuck off campus. We don't want you here anymore. You're not going to go through graduation." So at first blush, that sounded good. So we put our diplomas in our pockets, and we went down to a pool hall. Between our 9th, 10th, and 11th pitcher of beer, Walt Wojak, who was an intellect, he just died of cancer a couple weeks ago, said, "Martin Luther King just marched. I got a dream. We got our own fucking rights. They can't not allow us to go through graduation." A couple more pitchers of beer. Yeah. So we rolled back to school. We kicked in the door of the boys' vice principal. Kicked it in. Threw the diplomas in his face and said, "We got fucking rights. We're going to do whatever the fuck we want." And I said, and I'm going to burn this motherfucking school to the ground. That's the kind of student I was. So when I'm on the front page of the LA Times as the richest fucker, supposedly, something's wrong here. He must have done it with drugs, or, something's not right here. And so, but I've been disappointing my naysayers and for a long, long time. But I'm the least, they didn't have a least likely to succeed in my class. But I would have been if they had voted one. Now that kills my kids. My kids hate hearing that. They're embarrassed. I won't tell you on camera what I used to run around with when I used to be part of Siemens. But you can just imagine. I have never been anything other than against the grain. I've always been outrageous. And I've always got a lot of ass and a lot of money. My whole life. I'm a little, the little guy, can't get your willy wet. It's like we're in, what's it called when the two worlds are in the same space? Parallel universes. I don't understand. And almost all the guys that I know that have the big bucks think exactly like me, except they have two faces. They've got the public persona and the persona that's private persona. And just as I explained to you what happened to the granddaughter of Warren Buffett, that's how they are. So somebody on your board better be a tough motherfucker, or they're going to take it away from you. Remember I told you about the chairman, the CEO, and the CFO in Starbucks? That's happened that many times to me. Not to me. It only happened once to me, believe me. And when it happens to you, or you, gee, is that what Mr. Peña meant? In one case, I was so pissed off, I told the kid, I'll put up the money, let's go after him. I was so affronted by it. And the kid said no. I'll put up all the money. The kid said no. I've never offered to put up all the money again. I was, boom. I was like an atomic bomb went off in front of me. I couldn't believe it that the kid said no. Because normally you don't fight because you don't have the money. I'll come with the lawyers and I'll come with the money. Let's get him. I still remember him saying, as he walked away from me with his tail between his legs, I don't have the stomach for it, Mr. P. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I just can't do it. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So what about Maroney, our gangster lawyer? Yes, sir. There.
The only thing you need to worry about is cash flow, something that you reiterated.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. All the rest is bullshit. And what he was saying about UCC and buying assets, there's two different ways to buy a company. You buy the company, the shares, and all the past, current, and future liabilities with it. And normally that's always taxes you have to worry about. Not always, but mostly. And the other thing is you buy the assets. Okay? And assets are the business that's producing, and it doesn't necessarily have to be hard assets, but it's the business that produces the revenue less the expenses that equals the before and or after taxes, which equals cash flow. Those are the two ways you buy. I tell you to try to buy just assets. I'm getting ahead of myself with just buy assets. But in some instances, especially with the licensing in California, Florida, and fucking New Jersey, they don't pass licenses when you just buy the business. They only pass licenses when you buy the company that had the fucking licenses, or the owner stays. And sometimes they have the license. And it varies from state to state. So you got to figure that shit out before you ever look at the fucking thing. And I blame that on the lawyers. So sometimes you do have to buy the company and the shares, but you're getting the past, current, and future liabilities with it. And you just have to know that. And you have to mitigate it as best as possible with warranties, yada, yada. But sometimes you do. And sometimes you get away with just buying the asset or the business. And it's good that he didn't get the real estate, because that real estate is worth like $6-7 million, which is 3 or 4 times more than the business is worth. So if you were buying them together, let's just say it's a $10 million package, the cash flow only could afford a $3.5 million purchase price. So then somebody's got to write a check. And that's where it comes down to, what's the loan to value, yada, yada. But we're not a loan to value model. If the free cash flow doesn't substantially cover, or more than substantially cover, the debt service, we're not interested. We just walk away. And it'll be hard for you kids to walk away. Now, and when you're recruiting the board members, I'm getting ahead of myself again, you recruit them because one of the things that, first things that they think of, where's the equity coming to start this business? It's one of the first questions you'll be asked. Well, there is no fucking equity. Well, then you better have a good, what's your answer? Your answer is, you explain to them, we're going to use, we're going to be cash flow purchases only, and the fact is that we're going to use seller's equity, and they won't understand what seller's equity is, and then you'll explain to them it's seller's finance, and then they understand that. And you may even have to go as rudimentary as house flipping. And these are guys that have been in the business world 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they still won't understand because they've never done it. 99% of your board members will have never done a deal that somebody didn't put fucking equity in. And so now they're going to listen to a little skinny shit like him. Fuck. Next. And unless you, now I don't expect you to sell like I'm selling, but unless you sound off like you had a pair, they're going to just say, fuck you. Why is this guy or this guy or this guy all of a sudden going to be my fucking savior? The answer is yes, but you got to prove it to him. And you got to prove it to him like you got to sound off like you had a pair. In the military, when you first go in the military, or at least maybe now that you don't, you notice how almost every single question that was asked of the webinar kids, the kid on that side of the webinar said, could you say that again? I couldn't hear you. Every single question. Why is that? I've never been asked to repeat a question in my entire fucking life. Never. The first thing they tell you in the middle, sound off like I had a pair, Peña. You fucking Mexican wetback. That's what they used to say to me in the military. And ever since then, I've been well, I sounded off like I had a pair before because of my dad. If my dad couldn't hear me, bam! Are you a man or a mouse? Bam! Some of you I want to hit so bad. I mean, Jesus Christ, I gotta overcome this. I mean, I look at you, pathetic. Okay, Clark Kent, what do you want?
He used the seller's fear against them.
Yes. They don't know you're more afraid than they are. I can smell the fear in here. Am I the only one that can smell the fear in here? What time is it? Okay, who's by 5:30? Fuck, who's my 6? Okay. I will see you at at dinner in an hour and a half. The two things that I gave you don't have to report on, those two pieces of paper. I'll explain the second sheet. I've already explained the quality of earnings. I'll explain the other one tomorrow. Okay, kids.